How's it going, everyone? Just wanted to do kind of a little different format of video today because I just wanted to talk about the price of gaming these days. And I'm not even necessarily talking about the price of new games. I already kind of made a video about what I feel about Nintendo's price hikes for gaming and whatnot. So if you want to watch that, I'll link it at the end of this video. But just in general, like the price of retro gaming has definitely exploded as of late and really over the last several years. And there has been this like constant back and forth on the internet where people are kind of justifying these enormous price hikes for games with a lot of notoriety. You know, your like Game Boy Pokemon games, your Fire Emblem games, like a lot of the handheld stuff, some of the classic Xbox games, and like a ton of GameCube games and Nintendo games in general. Even some like old, really cult classic games like Silent Hill 2 is a great example. Any of the Silent Hill games, really, for the old PlayStations. The value on those is absolutely ridiculous compared to the accessibility of those games. Like, look right here. Xbox 360 era. This is the Silent Hill HD collection. This includes Silent Hill 2 and 3. I bought this used at GameStop like probably, 8 years ago, something like that, for obviously like not that much. This HD collection is actually still relatively cheap compared to just like buying Silent Hill 2 for the PS2, for instance. But the fact that Silent Hill 2 is like over $100 and that you can play it and Silent Hill 3 for, I don't know what this is going for now, but it's probably somewhere between like $20 and $40. It's just kind of like a weird thing where collecting has gotten to the point where hype is driven by social media. I kind of am of two minds about it because obviously, like, the main argument in kind of support of resellers is that resellers wouldn't exist if collectors weren't able, or weren't willing, I should say, to pay the prices for these games. And all I have to say to that really is that that's just kind of shifting the blame on people that just want to like enjoy a product from the past that used to be relatively like accessible. Now, I can understand if there's like a game that is very retro, very old, and that there is actually like a limited amount of copies in circulation. Like, it's understandable why a lot of like high demand SNES or like NES games are pretty high in price. They are still extremely overpriced, in my opinion, because of these trends that have taken place. But even for average games, like if you go on eBay right now and look up any of these games on the shelf, well, maybe not all of them, but a good chunk of them, you will probably pay double what you're paying like at a GameStop or at a like used game store for any of these like really cheap games. Like any of these Assassin's Creed games on the end here from that era, from the 360 and like PS3 era, those should be like less than $10 ideally at a game store. But I guarantee you, if you look them up on Amazon right now, some guy probably resurfaced the discs and is selling them for like $25. I would not be surprised. Your Phoenix resales of the world, they thrive on this mentality of like, I'm going to find a game for as cheap as possible and I'm going to price gouge people on Amazon because I have like exclusive like access to sell on Amazon, and I can move a bunch of product, you know, with a bit of a quality upgrade sometimes. Like there is kind of that quality guarantee, and I guess you could say that is part of the upsell. But they're still like upselling games at 50 to 60% of what they would be if you just found them out in the wild somewhere. And even more so than just like finding them at like a pawn shop or like a yard sale maybe. And you know, pawn shops are definitely addressing pricing a little bit more so these days. Like they're aware of online pricing a bit more, some of them. But like, I don't know, guys. I just wanted to kind of talk about the mentality behind buying games from resellers and why you really don't want to be doing that. Because ultimately, it's just going to perpetuate this cycle. A lot of the reasons that people buy games from resellers is because of these market trends. When they see a game from their childhood and they notice that like 5 years ago it was like significantly cheaper than it is today, that does something in our minds where we're like, oh shit, if I don't buy this game now, in 5 more years, it's going to be like triple the price of what it is now. So you get this like FOMO mentality that if I don't buy this game at market price right now, I might miss out on ever being able to afford this experience that was really meaningful to me in my childhood. And I mean, I don't usually subscribe to that mentality because I'm very frugal person and I don't really like subscribe to the idea that I need to give into FOMO. And also there are other ways of accessing like certain games, or you know, you can even like, if you have friends that are gamers, they probably can let you borrow games if you want to do it the legal way. But like I said, there are many ways to access games, and you don't really need to give into this FOMO. But a lot of people do. And that is not necessarily just the fault of the people that are buying the product. And I know that kind of sounds like a cope, or it kind of sounds like, you know, like, of course it's their fault. They're the ones buying the product and thus creating a market for these resellers. But the fact of the matter is, there would still be a market for these games out in the wild if you were just to sell these games at retail stores and say that eBay and Amazon wasn't a thing or whatnot, or whatever one of these sales platforms is. You would not be paying $100 for a game that, you know, when it came out was maybe like $50 to $60, and then at a game store, you know, demand would keep it maybe around like 40, you know, 40 to 50 bucks or something like that. In the modern time, if it was like a high ticket game that everybody wanted. But because of the like inflated market manipulation by these resellers, you get a market where people feel the need to buy something at a price that they wouldn't like reasonably come to the conclusion to buy it at if it was just like sold at retail stores. Like maybe they would if there was price gouging going on apart from the internet. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that a lot of the price inflation comes from like online influence. And there are two reasons that these prices get inflated primarily. It's either because like resellers promote these things as popular items to resell, and then it creates kind of this resellers mentality in thousands and thousands of other people, and then there is a scarcity in the market for a certain type of game because of the influence. And that is not like normal supply and demand consumer sentiment when it comes to like nostalgia and whatnot. It's not just the consumer's fault that is happening. That is blatant manipulation by people who are going out and teaching people a formula for how to profit off of specific titles. So there is a certain amount of justified frustration that people have with resellers. It's not just the consumer's fault. It is blatant greed, by people that are like, ooh, if I can buy a bunch of this product. Oh, that's the other thing that I was about to say. Number two, there is a artificial, well, it's not even artificial necessarily, but there is a heightened demand and supply issue because people that get into this reselling mentality when it comes to video games, they hoard a lot of product, especially when they create a larger business out of it. And I'm not saying any one person can manipulate the market substantially like they can with their influence maybe, but not with hoarding products, because there's literally millions and millions of copies of a lot of these games. But the more people there are that are trying to resell video games, the less video games there are going to be in the wild, unless they are extremely common, heavily printed games your Gears of War, your Assassin's Creeds, or your old Fable games. And those are games that don't have enough of a market demand and have a high enough supply that they don't really rise in price that much. But once you get into slightly older titles, if there were no alternatives to some GameCube games, they would be substantially more expensive. And because there are no alternatives, thanks Nintendo, to some GameCube games, they do go up substantially in price. Now, as you can see from my collection here, there are only a handful of games that are super expensive. You got your Legend of Zelda games for the Wii U, the HD remasters that have not been brought to the Switch, or have not been announced for the Switch 2 or whatever. Those games are substantially more expensive, particularly Twilight Princess there. That game is over $100. I bought a copy of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door for the GameCube, not because I just wanted it as a collectible, but because I actually wanted to play the game. And this was before the HD remake that came out for the Switch. Before it was even announced, I was like, I need a copy of this game because I really want to play it, and I really want to play it on a GameCube with a GameCube controller and whatnot. And, it's just not the same experience playing it any other kind of way. So I bought this guy for probably $110 back in the day. But apart from those two purchases, pretty much everything else on the shelf here, I either bought at a discounted store price, months after a game came out. Pretty much all of my PS5 games that I have down here, those, I didn't pay $60 to $70, whatever the release price was, for hardly any of them. I waited for them to go on discount. I found them in different places. Maybe one or two of them were gifts from my girlfriend or a friend or something like that. But pretty much all of my PlayStation games down here, and some of these are my girlfriend's, but they were all either bundle deals or things I found in the wild, things I found on Walmart discount shelves. Everything that I buy, I don't buy full price for if I can help it. Pretty much everything I play on Steam, I got at a discount. And the only games up on this shelf that I paid full price for was when I wanted to experience it right when it came out back in the day. This copy of Skyrim here, it's grab that there. It's the copy of Skyrim that I bought when the game first came out. It's got the map in there and everything. Pretty much all the Rockstar games on this shelf are opening night, going to GameStop, buying the game because I wanted to play it immediately, because I knew it would be a good experience and the hype was real back then. But yeah, guys, basically what I'm trying to say is if you have like this heightened FOMO mentality because of the increasing prices of games, usually game prices do fluctuate. Uh, Consumer sentiment changes based off of like influence and a couple other dynamics. Supply and demand will even out if people are not like manipulating the market. So chances are, if there is a game you're looking for and it's not like super old, there is a chance that the price of that game will fluctuate up and down over time. And I wouldn't recommend like overpaying for a game unless you really need it in your collection. If it's like your favorite game of all time, like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door is for me, then maybe it's worth $100 to you. I don't know. I don't know what your financial situation is. I don't know anything about your personal life. But, that's your discretion. But almost every other game that I have on this shelf here, and it's not like an enormous collection. A lot of my old Nintendo games I gave away when I was younger for personal reasons back when I was like in my early 20s. But, a lot of these 360 games I got like back in the day at discount from GameStop or wherever I bought them from. And some of them are like a bulk deal from when I like rebought a 360. And honestly, like I got amazing deals on most of the stuff here on my shelf. Some of these GameCube games I've been paying recent like pricing for, but none of these games besides like Paper Mario are really over, well, I guess, and Smash Bros. If you take those out of the equation, pretty much everything else here is like below $40. And most of them are like $20. So, but GameCube, it's older and it's becoming like harder to find out in the market. So that makes sense. But a lot of these Xbox 360 games you could pick up for less than $10 or less than $20 at least. Your Fallouts, your Fables, your Assassin's Creed, like all of the kind of like more mainstream titles from back in the day, like those are easy to find. And then like same thing with even some Wii games from back in the day. Like I think Smash Bros. Brawl, like right here, it's like one of my favorite Smash Bros. Games, and I'm pretty sure it's like $20, at your average used game store. Price may have been manipulated since I last checked. I don't know, but it's not like it's hard to find a lot of good games in the wild if you're actually looking for them. So for all of you like trying to collect out there or trying to like find games that you're nostalgic for, don't overpay. Don't like go online, go on eBay and like pay double the amount of what something would be listed as in a game store. Like just be patient. There's a lot of good deals out there. Depending on your location, it might be harder to find, but if you're ever traveling to like a more urban area with more gaming stores, you can always find like a bulk deal to do there too, and just like bundle a bunch of games together, and they might even give you a deal on it. Who knows? But at the end of the day, guys, there's a lot of price manipulation going on. There's a lot of hype around certain games that people like call grails when they're really like super common games that were like everywhere on the PS2 back in the day, and there's probably so many copies out there in circulation. I'm sure there's a lot more of them being hoarded in warehouses and like in the back of certain stores these days, but regardless, you can find good games out there and you don't have to pay outrageous prices for them. So I just kind of wanted to make this video to give my 2 cents on the whole reseller thing, the whole like gaming market thing in general. Do what you want with your money. Ultimately, I'm not telling you what to do, obviously, but I would implore you to spend your money on more important things than buying like game grails. I have a very like modest collection here. Obviously, it's not like this freaking wall of games that you see from so many gaming channels, but you can have playable experiences, and you're actually going to be happier if you buy games for the purpose of playing them and not for the purpose of just collecting them for a shelf. All of these games on the shelf here, I've more or less played, except for some of like the PS4 and PS5 games that I've picked up more recently. But like pretty much everything on the top of this shelf here, that's like stuff I've either played in the past or I've replayed several times. And yeah, guys, there's, always digital libraries too, things that you can play. It's nice to have physical copies just for the conservation of gaming in general. But there's so many deals on Steam. Xbox Game Pass is like so accessible, and honestly, that's all Xbox is nowadays anyway. So you might as well get Game Pass if you like playing on Xbox. Even PlayStation does deals on their store. So I would just encourage all of you guys. There are plenty of experiences out there. Take a look, see what's at your local gaming stores. If you don't have a lot of gaming stores, like keep an eye out for things on Facebook Marketplace that people are getting rid of. Go to yard sales, like do everything that you can to not overpay for games. And if you really need it, then go buy it. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, but at the end of the day, like, you can save your money, you can enjoy your gaming experiences without having to pay outrageous amounts of money to people that are trying to basically flip products for double what they're worth online. And that's my 2 cents on reselling and video game collecting. And yeah, let me know what kind of games you guys like to collect in the comments down below. Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed my little rant here. This is not really what I normally do on this channel. It's usually more heavily edited video essays. But I kind of wanted to just show you guys like my little collection here and like kind of my mentality around like playing games. Like I have hundreds of games downloaded on like this old Xbox One here. I've got digital games on the PS5 that I have digital games on my PC. Like it's not that hard to like find gaming experiences, and most people have too much. Like they have too much of a backlog. I know I have plenty of a backlog, but I try to like work through it as much as possible, and I love making content around it. So I have a good excuse to like get to games eventually, but usually it's a little bit slower and methodical because I like to record footage and edit a video about it, or 5 videos or whatever at the end of my experiences. So yeah, guys, play games to enjoy games. Have fun playing games. Don't just like spend money on things for the sake of collecting. I say that as we have like trading cards up there on the next shelf. But, for things that are designed to actually like interact with them, media that is an experience, like an artful experience to be enjoyed and interacted with. Like, just take it one game at a time, or buy a couple games and like get to them over time. And yeah, guys, play games for fun. Don't just collect for the sake of collecting. Don't just spend money that you can't afford to spend just to have a gaming collection. That's all I have to say, guys. Take care, and I'll see you in another video. Thank you all for coming to the Dutch Ritz party.